Hi guys, this is part 3 of my interesting observations and bass fishing videos. This time I'm going to talk a little bit about Facebook pros, or some people call them patch pirates, because they wear jerseys when they're fishing from the bank because they don't have a boat, but yet they wear jerseys because they have all these sponsors. It's hilarious how many pros are on Facebook these days. They all have their own professional, so-and-so professional angler, fan page. And if you look into it a little deeper and click on some of these people, they've never even fished an FLW or Bassmaster tournament. They've never, they might fish their local club tournament. But they think they're pros because they're sponsored by some, John's soft plastic baits company that, pours baits in his garage and gives him 10% off. If he buys $200 worth. They're complete. First of all, they're fooling them. They're not fooling anybody except for themselves. When you say you're going to be sponsored by some guy that's giving you 10% off of something you wouldn't have bought anyway, and he's making 40% markup probably on these baits, he's the one, he's not sponsoring you, he's tricking you into buying his baits and making money off you. And then you're putting a patch on your jersey and advertising him because he's giving you all these free baits, or but he's really not. Or the same thing goes with custom rods. Oh, we'll give you a $400 custom rod for 10% off. It's like, you wouldn't have bought that if you didn't think you were sponsored by him and you didn't get 10% off, even though he still made a ton of money off you. Why not just buy a regular old St. Croix or something? Because you think you're cool because you can put the patch on your jersey. It's just hilarious to me. If you're not getting free stuff, or at least 50% off of something, you're not really sponsored by them. You're just being suckered into buying their stuff. So this is these guys. A lot of these guys, if you click on their Facebook pages, or if you dig a little deeper, some of them don't even have boats. Some of them don't fish tournaments at all. It's just hilarious. Now, nowhere is this more prevalent, I should say, than what used to be the Everstart series. Now it's called the Railback series. Now, there's a lot of guys that are legit really good fishermen in the FLW Railbacks. But I fished the Railbacks last year, the Centrals, which was then called the FLW Everstart series. I fished that as a co-angler, and I fished with a lot of guys, that were. I fished with a few really good anglers that were legit pros, and then the rest, they were wannabes who had a lot of money. And it was just, some of them were bad. I fished with one guy on Pickwick last year in Alabama that threw a Strike King Series 6XD on a spinning rod. Now, when he pulled out that spinning rod on our first spot, I wish I could have just jumped out of the boat, because I knew I wasn't going to catch anything that day. At least, not unless I pulled off a miracle, because this guy doesn't know what he's doing. And it's just, if I had the money, I would probably do it too, even if I wasn't good. But it's just hilarious to wear these jerseys and pretend like you're a pro and sponsored by this when you're just terrible. I fished with another guy last year on the Detroit River, St. Clair Lake Erie event, and he was telling me he had a jersey on, but it had like 2 sponsors, and they weren't real sponsors. They were like fish for this cure for animals or something. And you know, he was telling me how he's just as good as all the Elite Series pros, but just doesn't have the money backing him. And you know, you're not as good as Kevin Van Dam or Mike Iaconelli or, you know, or Tommy Biffle or Jason Christie or any of these guys. You're not even as good as I am, and I'm fishing as a co-angler. I'm not even, you know, I'm not trying to pretend I'm a pro. I mean, he might know some spots, and you know, he's been doing it for 30 years, but he hasn't gotten any better because he does the same old things over and over and over. And it's just hilarious to me that some of these guys, because they think they're just as good as the pros, or just as good as the, you know, top level Elite Series guys, but they just don't have the money. It's like, okay, if you're as good as Kevin Van Dam or something like, or Aaron Martins, it doesn't matter if you're flat broke. You're gonna get to the top if you try hard enough. You know, they just don't admit that they've been fishing for 30, 40 years in tournaments and can't make it because they're not good enough, or they don't work hard enough, or whatever. You know, they're not as good as the top level pros. And I'm not saying that those couple examples aren't, you know, they're decent anglers. They probably cash some checks in local tournaments and maybe national tournaments, but it's just funny to me how people don't respect how good, you know, Kevin Van Dam and Aaron Martins and Skeet Reese and Mike Iaconelli really are. I mean, they're incredible. And I just, you know, I find that whole thing funny that people are, you know, the whole patch pirate thing is just hilarious to me. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you like our stuff, check us out on Facebook. You know, like our page, Bass Squad. Check us out on Twitter, Bass Squad, at Bass Squad Corp, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got podcasts coming out. We're gonna be at the Classic. Me and Tyler are gonna be down at the Classic. So if you guys got any you know, suggestions, if you want to talk to us, if you want to ask us questions, if you want us to film a certain, you know, bit on something that you find funny, if you got, you know, anything that you can add, there's 4 of us, so we have plenty of, you know, time to do feedback. We'll answer your questions, whatever. So hit us up on one of those. You know, we'll see you next week. Hopefully find something else to talk about that's funny. I'm sure I will, because I got endless amounts of stuff to talk about when it comes to bass fishing. See you guys later.